So as some of you might already know, we're moving shops. Blackout is changing locations to a new space across the street, and it's actually the people that we have been subletting this space from. I found this place super last minute last year, and it was a great deal, great location, freestanding building, all of those things that you want, especially with working on automotive in Southern California. But long story short, they need their space back, and I had to come up with a new idea on our shop. So what I did was I reached out to their landlord where they're moving out from, and I brokered a deal. So we're actually going to be exchanging spaces with them, which is why they have a bunch of their stuff in here, and our lifts are still here in our cars, and all that stuff is there. So it's a little crazy in here. It's about as dirty as it ever gets, but it is kind of the necessary evil. It's kind of, part of, the fun that we get to do as business owners. We don't just get to work on cars every day and have fun. We have to, manage and, have these spaces set up for us to be able to do all these projects. So I've been working on getting us lined up and set up to have our new space up and running ASAP, hopefully in under 2 weeks. We set this space up in about 2 weeks. I just started pulling triggers, like picking up our pallet racks, buying equipment, got our Advantage lifts put in, and just got this whole place turned around, and we were shooting Drift This in, it was, God, I want to say it was between 2 or 3 weeks from the time that we got the keys to when we were actually shooting. And so it was super fast turnaround, and I'm not having to locate as much equipment this time, so it's just dealing with the physical move. And so my car is just about done with fab work. I've been working on a lot of things. I'll show you all that in a minute. But this car is heading off to paint tomorrow, so I wanted to get this kind of wrapped up, and we started doing a lot of the moving over the weekend, but I got a few more things I got to weld up onto that car to be able to send it over to paint, and then I can focus 100% on the move to get everything kind of set up and us back fully operational in the next, let's say, I think in about 2 weeks from now, no problem. Hoping to be ready by this time next week. So we'll see. But we still got some of our cars here. We got to get all this torn out. I have to get the lift broken down and moved across the street. Dylan's car still needs a whole lot of work, but it is getting super close. He's been getting crazy on the interior, and especially in the rear, all this fab work that he's doing. Me and him just been bouncing ideas back and forth on where to locate certain things, like how to build the bash bars out to be the most efficient and super strong and replaceable. And yeah, it's all coming together really well. He's got his quick change that he's putting in. Don't mind that super bright sun. It's early in the morning, sun's still pretty low, but I had to get down here and let our painters into the new location so they can get busy and get after getting that place prepped up and ready for us. So my car has been getting a lot of work as well. I've been, like I said, rebuilding this whole chassis, and this is the same chassis I've been running since 2012. I think it's the longest running chassis in FD at this point. Me and Turk were kind of tied there for a little while, but as we know, Turk had an accident at Long Beach last year, so he's in a new chassis. But some of the things I learned last year was that, or well, I wouldn't say learned last year, but as we continue to develop the car every year, there's something else that we kind of like learn, and new ideas. These cars are a constant, what would you call it? It's just constant trial and error on placing weight in certain areas of the car, trying out new theories, trying out different weight percentages and just locations, leverage, and things like that. And so there's a few guys where the theory is to get the weight behind the rear wheels, get a lot of that leverage so you really have a lot of grip on the throttle. But what I think that I discovered with that was that you are also adding a lot of pendulum weight for high angle braking zones. And my car would not slow down as quickly as some of the others. This car could really sail through a braking zone, where I think some of the big tire guys and longer wheelbase guys can really carry a lot of speed into those zones and be able to slow down and still make the corner. We have to start letting our car slow down sooner than that, so that we would be able to maintain a good momentum and get through the corner. So what I'm doing this year is taking the fuel cell used to be down here behind the axle, behind the diff, and the battery used to be down here as well. So the weight was nice and low, which is good. However, it was almost, almost 2 feet, about 18 inches further back. And so that was giving us more percentage on the rear, but it was also just, like I said, adding a lot of pendulum weight that we aren't looking for. So I moved these two things forward, and the radiator used to be here, so the radiator is now behind it. So now all the weight is only of about a foot or so behind the axle and not about 2 feet. So we're gonna see how that helps. And then we also have a couple other things like a cool suit to help offset moving that weight forward to keep, to keep our percentage up, because this used to be forward, right behind the firewall, next to the oil tank. So move that back to help with the percentage, but keeping it on this same plane. And then our nitrous bottle goes here, oil tank's there, and all that is to offset my weight over on the left side of the car. And so our numbers left to right are actually really, really good for the most part. But some of the other things that I wanted to do is make the car a little bit easier to work on. I've always wanted to build a tranny tunnel. The Z tunnels are pretty big because they have such a large transmission, the 6-speed, that a lot of people swap into other cars. However, it is, you know, still we have the engine pushed really far back, so the bell housing bolts are really close to the firewall. So I opened up the tranny tunnel to our maximum allotment with Formula Drift, just to kind of see if it's that kind of, or that much of a benefit, which I don't see why it would hurt us in any way. It does kind of come in on the pedal area a little bit, but I still have room for all 3 pedals and my foot. I'm not gonna be running out of space there. The passenger side is no big deal. I don't run anything up in that passenger footwell, like an oil tank or cool suit or nitrous bottle or anything like these other guys do. We actually have to, this year, remove all those things so that there's more room for passengers, because a lot of guys, a lot of teams were putting all that weight over there because it was dead space, but then you couldn't carry a passenger even though we're required to have passenger seats. So a little weird there, but that's all cleared out. As you can see from the front side, this tranny tunnel is now huge. We have full access. We have our radiator lines and our fuel lines running through there, so they're gonna come through on the top of the tunnel and ride right over that transmission. Plenty of room to access those and the transmission bolts if we ever have to swap it out or swap a clutch out. And so I think it's just gonna be nice to be able to have more access to the back of the engine. But enough about that. We are still in the moving phase. I'm gonna take you across the street now and show you the new space as we are getting everything together. Like I said, slowly buttoning things up. The front room is also a disaster. This is half of our stuff, that's half of their stuff. Pretty much stuff everywhere. But when we come out here and look, straight across the street, that's the new building where the Penske truck is. So that's the old tenants. That truck is loaded full of stuff. They're working with us to make sure that we have ample room to get in there and paint all the walls, because their lease ran out before ours. So they're being nice enough to, you know, kind of wrap their stuff up in all the saran wrap like you saw in there, while we're still trying to get some work done on the cars. We're overlapping. We're gonna be out of there, what is it? 2 months before our lease was actually up. So as we move in, these guys used to be well, still are, they'll be operating across the street, but vintage safari wagon. So they would rent VW buses out to people that want to live the California dream. So there's stuff everywhere in here, but this is gonna be a cool little common area, little meeting room area. We're gonna set up a little break room area back there. That wraps around the corner. There's 3 offices in the back that will be set up. One's gonna be kind of like inventory, shipping, receiving. Another one's gonna be an office, another one's gonna be storage. And then through here, this is the new shop. And so guys are coming in, painting everything out. We're getting all these walls nice, fresh and white for all the filming that we're gonna be doing, because that's what we did in the other shop. That's what we did at RS as well. Getting those walls nice and bright white because it helps all the light bounce, helps us be able to see better. We don't want to be in a big dark closet. So coming over to here, same thing. All these walls are cleared out. We got nice electrical outlets all over the place, so power is not going to be a problem. This place also has AC and heat, which is sweet. A couple other things, we're going to put in new skylights so that we have nice bright natural light coming in. And so all the VW stuff is just kind of all pushed into the center so we can paint the walls, and we're going to start swapping our pallet racks over today. But outside of that, the other cool thing is we got a little fab room. So this little addition I wouldn't really call it an addition, but the shop space is almost identical size to what we're working with now, within a couple feet. It's one big square. But this is an addition that we didn't have before. So all the fab equipment is gonna land in this room. And we're gonna be able to put a chassis right here in the middle. So when we're cutting and grinding and making a big mess, it's all gonna be contained in this one area. We might hang some of those like plastic curtains right here to help keep the dust from kind of spilling out into this area. But what's really, really cool is that it's just gonna have the chassis that's getting the heavy fab right next to all the equipment, still accessible for anything that's going on outside, but it is gonna be like really, really nice to have it all kind of in one space. So there's just all of our stuff that's been on the pallet racks kind of shoved in here for the time being. We're gonna get a big rack up here for holding up materials and all the extra metal, sheet, tube that we use when we're building our cars. And then back there, we're gonna put in our new Wright CNC plasma table, which I'm super excited about. We're waiting on our Miller plasma machine itself to be able to cut the material, but the table's coming sometime this week or next week, and we're gonna be able to have a lot more manufacturing capabilities in-house. So a little less sourcing out, a little more handling on site. Other cool thing is we have a lot of overhead storage, so we're gonna be putting like body parts and extra panels and things up there. Pallet rack would go there, we got a pallet rack going in here, and 4 posts is gonna go over in this corner where their 2 posts is, so we can kind of come in from the garage door and swoop those cars in and put them up in the air. And outside of that, I'll show you down here real quick. It seems like a little mazy. There's a couple things going on, but it's it definitely helps from what I would think. I don't even know where light switches are in this place. Help kind of consolidate and keep a little bit of the mess outside of the shop. So the shop is always looking super clean. I always really like that look, really simple. Not a lot of stuff piled up on the ground, engines all over the place. So these 3 rooms are storage. Let's see, I know that there's a light switch in here. Oh, I did. There it is. So yeah, another big room. We're gonna get this room cleaned up and painted out. A lot of overhead storage up there. All this stuff, just same thing, kind of moved in from the other spot for now to make some room. And then we come down this little hallway, and there's another office in here. So this one is full of stuff, of course, but there's gonna be a lot of things going on in there, and then this is right back to the front door. So it's a nice big lap that goes around. Little kitchenette area back there, but I think it's gonna be great. It's a little different than what we were working with before because it was just the 2 rooms, like the front room and the back room. And this is kind of like gonna separate things out a little bit, keep things a little more organized, less all of the stuff in one space. So coming out the back door, they have a lot of these vans. There's 2 dozen of them or so, but what's rad is this whole side of the lot is ours, and it's very, very rare to find a spot in California that has its own lot. So since we have some trailers, and of course extra cars, and my container, we're gonna have all this room back here to set that all up. I'm gonna put my container right there, have a little rafter that comes off the roof, or maybe not a rafter, but like a awning, a sail, whatever you want to call it, cast some shade, make a little hangout area over in this corner, storage in the container, and then that's all going to be extra parking. And I think it's going to be awesome. Super, super stoked on it. The place is great. It's about 5,000 square feet, and that's going to be more than enough. But we have more projects coming up. We got a build that's starting in about 2 weeks, which is why we're going home and getting the shop back together. So we need room for that. We have another cool little idea that's going to be coming up pretty soon that we'll share later. But until then, gotta get back to work. Now with all this moving and grooving, with all the big heavy equipment that we have, I added one new Nissan to the fleet. My new Nissan forklift. Always wanted one. There it goes, fires right up, it's awesome. I've been to plenty of shops that have forklifts, and it's always convenient to have one. We're always moving pallets around, moving stacks of wheels and tires, fuel drums, putting things up on the pallet racks. So getting this little guy is gonna help make things so much easier, not just around the shop, but for the physical move. And yeah, it's a little smaller framed one, but it still picks up about 4,000 pounds. So it's like perfect size for what we need to get our stuff done around the shop.